In the early 20th century, two young cousins from Cottingley, England, claimed to have captured photographs of fairies in a nearby garden. The Cottingley fairies, as they came to be known, became a sensation, captivating the public's imagination and sparking debate about the existence of these mythical creatures. The story of the Cottingley fairies began in the summer of 1917 when 9-year-old Frances Griffiths and her mother returned to England from South Africa to stay with their relatives, the Wright family, living in West Yorkshire. Polly and Arthur Wright lived in a small wooded valley along with their 16-year-old daughter Elsie. Along this valley flowed a stream known as Cottingley Beck. It was surrounded with rocky bits, large trees, and was the perfect place for kids to explore and play. This area quickly became a favorite spot for the two cousins, Elsie and Frances. They would often come home with wet feet and dirty clothes. One day, when the two girls returned home, their mothers complained about their ragged state and asked what had they been up to. The girls said they went out to see the fairies. Both families scoffed at this, but the girls wouldn't relent. Elsie asked to borrow a camera so they could come back with proof, and within the hour they did just that. As it turns out, Elsie's father was an amateur photographer with his own darkroom where he would develop his own prints. The image the girls brought back would become famous. It showed Frances, head slightly tilted, gazing off into the distance and just to the right of the camera. In front of her were several winged fairies dressed in little gowns and appearing to be in a state of dance or play. Now, Elsie had an interest in photography herself. It said she had a talent and experience for retouching photographs. Her father, Arthur Wright, was immediately suspicious when he saw the fairy photograph once it was developed. Even after the girls brought back a second photograph showing Elsie holding her hand out to a gnome-like creature, he remained skeptical. He knew the girls had to be up to something, but couldn't figure out what they were doing to get the pictures. His first instinct was that the girls were using cut-out figures, but just couldn't prove it. It was around this time that an organization known as the Theosophical Society came into prominence. This group derived inspiration from occultism and various religions and aimed to prove as well as study mystical, non-physical things such as cosmic evolution. Elsie's mother, Polly, became interested in them and decided to go to a meeting in nearby Bradford. It just so happened that the night she attended was a lecture on fairy life. She presented the photos which captured the attention of everyone in the crowd, but especially one of its leading members, Edward Gardner. Gardner claimed the two images from the girls were supernatural proof that there was a great metaphysical change about to happen, that the fairies were a sign of a next evolutionary movement. He took these photos as examples to promote one of the society's most important message, that humankind was undergoing a process of transformation leading to the perfection of the species. He had the photographs examined by photographic expert Harold Snelling, who confirmed them as authentic images. This meant he couldn't see any trickery accountable to what we would now refer to as post-processing. He came to the conclusion that everything in the photo was done in camera and actually physically there. However, this didn't validate the things seen in the photo as actual fairies. By the 1920s, people who had an invested interest in proving the existence of life beyond what we knew used the photos to suit their purposes. The famous author of the Sherlock Holmes series, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, decided to believe the fairies and championed the photos. However, it should be noted that Conan Doyle typically believed anything and everything that came his way in regard to otherworldly things. He was duped by Piltdown Man, and even Houdini got him to believe wholeheartedly in magic, even after showing him how his tricks were performed. Whenever Frances and Elsie were asked about the origins of the fairies and whether or not they were faked, they maintained their story. Skeptics demanded more proof, so Gardner traveled to see the cousins and brought with him 2 new cameras with secretly marked photographic plates to detect any tampering. He asked them to take more photos of the fairies since the girls claimed the little beings wouldn't come out for the adults. More photos were eventually made, which were sent off to London to Conan Doyle's excitement. But the photos were all faked, beautifully drawn images of fairies cut out and copied from a book called Princess Mary's Gift Book, which was published in 1914. The girls added the wings on their own and attached everything using hat pins. As simple as it all sounds, it still fooled Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and many others. It's hard to believe now, but the belief in the Cottingley fairies persisted well into the 1960s. Television opened even greater opportunities for investigative journalism in the following decade, and the images came under even greater scrutiny. In 1978, magician and scientific skeptic James Randi and a team from the Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal examined the photos with computer enhancement to reveal the discovery of little strings supporting the fairies. Then in the early 1980s, the photos were thoroughly debunked when Geoffrey Crawley, editor of the British Journal of Photography, did a major investigation into the photographs and also determined them to be fakes. Finally, in 1983, both Elsie and Frances admitted to faking the photographs and relenting that things just got out of hand. The cousins were astonished how easily people were duped into believing their hoax.
And I said, with the long hat pin, put it down the back like that, and stuck the tape at the back like that, and then gradually wormed that down. They were longer than that though, they were about that then, 18 inches at least, and then wormed that down into the eye. And they said that the thing was that they could see that the fairies were moving and the photographs were staying, but that's because they did it in the dreams. I never even thought of it being a fraud. It was just Elsie and I having a bit of fun.
However, Frances still maintained that the fifth and final photo they took, fairies and their sunbath, was not a fake. Though this photograph has been deemed to be a clever double exposure, leading many to believe that she was confused or forgot about the process in making it. Although the photos were faked, for decades they brought joy and wonder to many people. The images of little fairies dancing and playing with little human girls kindled imaginations and hope that perhaps there was another world filled with magic hidden away from us. Even though these were cleverly staged hoaxes, the memory of what they brought to the world lives on. The Cottingley fairies will forever remain a testament to the power of childhood imagination and the enduring desire for magic and wonder in our lives.